President Putin blames Ukraine for the attack on a key bridge linking Russia to Crimea.
There is no doubt that this is an act of terrorism aimed at destroying Russia's critically important civilian infrastructure.
And the paper's got a picture there of Ukrainians in Kyiv celebrating in front of, that's not the actual bridge, that's some graffiti, some artwork depicting that attack we saw on the Kerch Bridge over the weekend, which links Russia to Crimea.
The Metro carries a stark image of what many people believe is Russia's response to that attack. A deadly missile strike on a residential building in Zaporizhia. Its headline is Wrath of Putin.
And one of the most viewed videos on the BBC website at the moment is that explosion on the Kerch Bridge, when it took place, how it took place, whether it was a truck bomb just descending there moments before or whether something else happened, which is being speculated about by military experts around the world looking at that footage.
Now, more in Ukraine, and Kyiv says Moscow is targeting civilian areas because its forces are unable to respond on the battlefield. In recent weeks, Ukraine has managed to regain some territory in the south and the east, including the strategically important town of Lyman. Our defense correspondent Jonathan Beale reports from close to the front line.
Ukraine's still advancing, still hunting down Russian positions. Here using a drone to spot them. Ukraine's retaken another dozen miles of territory over the past week here in the east. But the retreating Russians are still putting up a fight.
It's quite intense, the fighting here.
Yeah. It's Russian artillery working now.
Russian guns haven't been silenced, but this barrage seems indiscriminate. The troops say unlike theirs. They also see a huge difference in morale.
In Ukraine, we named that their army, it's meat. It's only meat because they don't save their people.
Do you think they're capable of retaking any of this territory you've liberated?
I'm sure that cannot.
Why are you sure?
Because they're weak. They're weak now. They're scared about us.
You feel safe?
Yeah, I feel safe because I'm on my land, so even the ground will help me.
This is the same ground President Putin recently declared forever Russia. But all that's been left by Russia is trash.
This was a Russian position, and you can see just the rubbish strewn around, rations. There's even a Russian cap here. There's something for artillery shells there, just strewn across the area. And the Ukrainian forces say that's what makes them such an easy target, because they can see this rubbish when they're flying the drones and spot the Russian positions, making it easier for them to attack.
You want to see Russian helmet? It's from the future.
No.
That's a Russian helmet?
Yeah.
Ukrainian helmet and Russian helmet.
What's the difference? An army of future.
Of bad, very bad future.
Recaptured territory too tells the story of a depleted Russian army. Ukraine's now captured more Russian armour than they've been supplied by the West. Dozens more vehicles lie wrecked, rusting, destroyed. Along with discarded ammunition, the Donbass is also littered with lethal mines. But liberation comes with a costly legacy. Bombed out homes and ruined infrastructure. Downed bridges, stations without trains, and the remnants of a population now just trying to survive.
The people of Lyman, those who stay behind, have now gone through invasion and liberation and constant bombardment. Now they don't even have the basics: food, electricity and water. This is just a queue for bread, and there's not enough to go around. Winter is coming, and life isn't going to get any easier.
Katerina worries for her children's future. But more than that, she still fears what Russia might do next.
They have a lot of power, which is why it is scary that they might return. Because the city has already suffered very badly, and if the city will be passed back and forth from hand to hand, then nothing will remain, including people. I no longer know who to believe or not to believe. We just want silence, peace, and electricity at least.
Help is slowly coming. Here, a couple of volunteers are spraying over the pro-Russian graffiti. But it'll take much more to erase the recent past. And Russia is still at their doorstep. Jonathan Beale, BBC News, Lyman.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Monday, the 10th of October, and our main story is developing while we're on air today, because there have been several large explosions in the capital of Ukraine, in Kyiv itself, within the last hour or so.
This is the moment a missile went over the head of our correspondent, Hugo Bachega, and you can hear the explosion in the background.
Was hit more than a dozen.
So that is, in fact, the first time Kyiv has been hit for many months, and the explosions appear to be much more central than Russian strikes on the city earlier in the war.
The good news is that Hugo and his BBC team are OK. They're safely in a bunker. We managed to speak to them earlier, and now we're trying to get a sense of how much damage has been caused. There are reports of loss of life in different parts of Kyiv, but also the timing of this, because as well as the explosions in Kyiv, there have also been reports overnight of shelling in Dnipro and in the southern city of Zaporizhia, where officials say a residential area has been hit for the second night in a row.
Well, the attacks come 2 days after a bridge which links Russia with occupied Crimea was damaged in a blast. That's the story we were bringing on the programme for the last couple of days, story of that bridge blast. These are the images that you might remember that we showed you at the time. There was speculation back then, wasn't there, that there might be some type of retaliation to this. And this morning we are reporting missile strikes in central Kyiv, in Dnipro and in Zaporizhia too. And there's really incredible images of our correspondent Hugo Bachega, who was reporting live, wasn't he, on the BBC, as one of those missile strikes came into central Kyiv just a short time ago.